Thank you, Greg. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Pope. I'm the Marketing Director at HooYu. This is Grant Greenwood, our Product Director. So HooYu, a global identity confirmation platform that isn't just designed for businesses, but is designed for people as well. So in today's digital age, sometimes one person wants to check the identity of another person. Let's pretend that today's compere Greg was about to give me £4,000 to hire out my lovely house in the south of France. Well, before he sends me the cash, he might want to have more comfort that I am who I say I am. So HooYu is a peer-to-peer identity confirmation service. The sort of things we see on HooYu is sometimes on a daily basis, we'll see the driving licenses of lots of beautiful Russian supermodels, or we might see the passport of somebody who's claiming he's the president of Barbados. So in those instances, we go back to our customers to say, stop, whatever you're doing, don't send them the money, they're using a fake identity. So really we're helping protect people from financial loss, whether it be Airbnb scams, romance scams, investment scams, and so on. And of course, we have lots of businesses using our technology as well. Our background is we sold our old identity verification company to Experian. And what we know about identity is there's lots of companies doing it, but they're all doing something slightly different. Some companies do database checks, other companies do biometrics, other companies do document validation. And HooYu is the first platform to really unite and combine and stitch and blend together all these different identity technologies. So since we last presented to Finovate last year, we've now added some new technologies in. We now have fraud caution alerts, geolocation, PEPs and sanctions checks, and identity database checks. And having all these different techs in one platform really is one of our USPs, and we're really happy to announce that this spring we're going live with several Tier 1 UK retail banks. So let's get on, do a demo. We're going to show you a fictitious company called TransferPay. And HooYu is really designed to maximize your account opening completion rates, to minimize abandonment during account opening, specifically when people are, have been rejected by the traditional database check. So HooYu here is integrated into TransferPay, and as I said, we're designed to maximize account opening. So what we see here is a page that really guides your user through the digital journey, that tells them what's going to happen after they've failed the traditional database check and how they can still complete account opening straight away. So Grant's going to do a selfie. HooYu can be used inside your app, on your mobile site, on your desktop site. Grant's going to start here on the desktop and then move on to onto mobile. So Grant will receive a text on his mobile device, and he'll do the selfie there on the mobile device instead. Okay, I was just going to use the webcam today instead. There we go. Okay, brilliant. Technical demos. After the selfie, of course, with the selfie, we're doing facial biometrics. We're comparing the face in the selfie with the face in the ID document, and we're also comparing it with the face from Grant's digital footprint as well. So the next stage is that we go on to do digital footprint analysis. Now, based on how we all buy and bank and shop and chat away around the internet, and this is a wonderful source of data to be able to verify customer identity. And so what we do with digital footprint sources is we look at it and decide if we can trust that digital identity source. So in a minute, Grant's going to upload his VK, which is the Russian equivalent of Facebook. But Grant will get a little message that says, oh, sorry, we can't use that source. There's not enough there for us to be confident in it. So instead, he's going to use his Facebook as well. So the key thing for us is, how do we know if we like that source? How can we trust that source? So we're looking at all the different parameters of that profile. In the instance of Facebook, we'll look at something like 300 different parameters. But the obvious ones are, for example, how old is the profile? How many people are they connected to? How much content has that person put through the profile? So how many videos, albums, posts, photos, and so on and so forth. The really clever part that I like is that we then measure how many other third-party profiles have interacted with that profile, which means that the fraudster has to create hundreds of other profiles to give legitimacy to that profile, and it makes it exponentially harder to do fraud that way. So next up, we're on to the document validation, and of course, HooYu does all these wonderful document validation technologies you've all heard of before. We'll look at the MRZ, the kineogram, the microprint, the font, the layout, the hologram, so on and so forth. But there's one crucial difference here. What we do with HooYu is we use technology to validate the identity document in what takes roughly around about 30 seconds, rather than have all our documents go through a manual process. We have a manual process that's there as a backup if needs be. So what's happening now is we've completed the process. HooYu is exiting out of this stage of your customer's digital journey. We're passing all the results of the verification back to you. And this page you see here, it's got nothing to do with the HooYu. This is the page you show to your customer to curate their way through their digital journey in terms of account opening. So now let's go behind the scenes, look at the work we've done on the document validation. So we're in our dashboard. This is the verification report. So at the top, you'll see a decision, a caution alert, and a score. So moving down the screen, first of all, we'll see the results of the IP geolocation we've done. So we looked at that. Where is that user when they did the verification? Next up is the watch list, the PEPs and sanctions checks. What we're doing here as well is we're looking at adverse media lists. So if your customer has been in court for fraud or money laundering, you might like to know about that. We'll tell you. Next up is our database checks. We'll do a simple electoral roll or directors' companies check, and then we'll also do a more in-depth credit reference check to see if that person still lives at that address, is at their current address, have they passed away, and so on and so forth. So that's all the different technologies at play. Back to the top, if you will, Grant. We can see here now that we've got some caution alerts. So let's suppose there's a mismatch in terms of IP addresses, or this customer matches to your previous fraud history. Again, we'll tell you about it. But what you see here in the identity confidence score is that we've actually taken a look at how many sources have been used, how much data do we extract from the sources, and then crucially, how well does the data match across those sources? And that's what generates our identity confidence score. It's confirming customer identity from multiple sources instead of just using one source. So the power of HooYu really is in the corroboration, the cross-referencing of the multiple sources. Just checking a database in this age of data breach, just checking an ID document is no longer the defense it used to be. Ladies and gentlemen, do come to the HooYu booth to have a look at our lovely, quick, straight-through KYC process. Thank you very much.